Buenos días or buenas tardes, good morning or good afternoon, depending on where you are in the world. I'm also sending my warm wishes to all of you in Madrid. I would have loved to be there with you. My name is Maria Mendiluce and I'm the CEO of the Women Business Coalition. The most recent report from the IPCC, the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, makes things really clear. Climate change is happening, human activities are the source of the problem, and our norms and our mindsets need to shift rapidly to limit further damage. We are in the red zone. We don't have time to lose. The report proves that to win the race to zero, it's imperative that we go all in on climate action, collaborating across both businesses and governments. We need to do it now because the window of time to stabilize the climate is vanishing fast. This year, the G20 and COP26 are decisive moments for the future of humanity. The IPCC report shows it's still possible to limit global temperature rise to 1.5, but we are already dangerously close to that threshold. We must both halve emissions and reverse nature laws by 2030. So how do we make the strides needed to limit the most catastrophic effects of climate change? What system changes need to be put in place and what has proven effective so far? What are the mindset changes needed to embrace this unprecedented change? These are the questions I would like to focus on my presentation today. First, let me give you some examples. Crucially, hundreds of global companies are already building the foundation of exemplary corporate climate action, proving it's possible to get on track to halving emissions by 2030. They are demonstrating, just as they have done during the COVID-19 crisis, that business has an incredible ability to adapt and deliver rapid change, wide and scaled. These companies are already making swift adjustments to ensure they continue to perform well while aligning with this climate goal, tasking everyone from CEO to engineers and marketers to develop and scale up the solutions that will prevent every further fraction of a degree of temperature rise. My role as the CEO of the Women Business Coalition is to encourage companies big and small to voluntarily commit to one of the major corporate net zero campaigns and to the science-based targets. Here are some of the most crucial campaigns to bear in mind and for you to join and help us push forward. Nearly 800 businesses, collectively employing around 24 million people and representing $13 trillion in market capitalization, are setting 1.5 aligned science-based targets. They are implementing plans to help halve emissions globally by 2030 through the Business Ambition for 1.5 campaign. Business Ambition for 1.5 is an urgent call to action from a global coalition of UN agencies, business and industry leaders in partnership with the Race to Zero campaign and the Women Business Coalition. Another set of more than 200 companies are working together to reach the goals of the Paris Agreement 10 years earlier through the Climate Pledge. Actions there include switching entire value chains to renewable power, making transport fleets all electric and innovating new, lower carbon ways to manufacture products. Combined, pledge signatures generate around 1.8 trillion in global annual revenues and employ 7 million people across 26 industries and 21 countries. Now, let me turn my attention to SME, an area that is really my passion. SMEs make up to 90% of business worldwide. They are the backbone of our communities and our economy, and they cannot be left behind in the race to zero. SMEs also represent more than 50% of employment worldwide, and supply chains, consisting mainly on SMEs, are often responsible for between 65% and 95% of a company's total emissions. These numbers underline just how important it is for us to make sure that the SMEs are also included in the multinational and big companies' climate action plans. The small businesses with robust climate action plans help create a better future, not just for the planet, but also for their own businesses. Taking climate action helps businesses navigate changing policy regulations, improve efficiency, reduce costs, and even enhance the access to loans and investments. By committing to halve emissions by 2030, SMEs position themselves to become the next industry leaders and usher a new wave of innovation and growth. It's a growth that is bottom-up. We know that climate action is critical for SMEs to build resilience, but they often lack the resources and support that needed to take action. Everyone, from governments and NGOs to multinational companies, needs to step up to help them move towards our shared climate goals. The Women Business Coalition founded the SME Climate Hub, which is now going to be launched in Spanish, along with the Exponential Roadmap initiative, the International Chamber of Commerce, and the UNFCCC Race to Zero campaign to bridge this gap. The SME Climate Hub provides a small and medium-sized enterprises with a one-stop shop to make an internationally recognized climate commitment, access to best-in-class tools and resources, and help them build the business resilient and gain competitive advantage. By joining the SME Climate Hub, small businesses can better navigate the shifting expectations of consumers, large corporations, and governments. And that means a stronger, healthier business that's fit for the future. The SME Climate Commitment is also the official pathway for small and medium-sized businesses to join the Race to Zero. Businesses which commit to the SME Climate Hub will be globally recognized by the United Nations Race to Zero campaign. So let me get back to what I said earlier. Climate action needs to involve both businesses and governments. Let's talk about governments now. Business ambition is already triggering market signals that drive governments and financial institutions to act. Around 70% of the global economy is now committing to net zero by 2050. As many global superpowers adapt to stay aligned with the latest climate science, we are increasingly seeing climate policy regulation enforced at the national level. Both the US and the European Union, along with a growing list of other countries, will require that emissions are collectively reduced by at least 50% by 2030 to stay on track for reaching net zero by mid-century. These nationwide climate targets provide clarity on the long-term direction of travel and strengthen the case for countries to set clear end dates for coal and cars powered by petrol and diesel. For example, in the EU, ministers are actively considering a ban on all new combustion engine cars by 2035. The level of voluntary corporate climate action so far proves that if government creates the conditions for success, businesses will innovate and scale climate solutions, many of which already exist. They must do it now because companies have much to do to decarbonize not just their operations, but also their supply chains. We need to mainstream climate action in every aspect of society. We need millions of companies to get on track for having emissions by 2030. And to reach these goals, governments need to play their part. Within the wide range of policies that governments need to adopt, there are some that are indisputable. Ending coal and scaling up electric vehicles and renewable power are no-brainers. But the severity of the climate crisis demands transformational actions in every country and in every sector. Businesses urgently need clear and consistent government policies aligned with a 1.5 target to urge them to make investment and decisions that will decarbonize the global economy. Further, governments should develop these policies in close dialogue with corporate climate leaders, working to reduce emissions because they can bring immense insight and innovation to the net zero transitions. Governments can gear the market towards low-carbon activities in the pandemic recovery by stopping fossil fuel subsidies, putting a price on carbon, and making climate-related financial disclosure mandatory. To enable every country to take part in the transition, wealthier countries need to deliver the 100 billion per year of climate finance required for developing countries so they can also bring their brilliance to the race to reduce emissions. The science is alarming, but we can't let that overwhelm us. We need to mainstream business climate action now. We need to harness every ounce of your incredible power, creativity, and innovation to halve emissions by 2030. The power of ingenuity, determination, and fundamentally of love of our lives and our shared home on this planet can bring about the change that is necessary. By redefining the rules, governments can support businesses to do what they are best and ensure that together we can achieve this monumental task. By resetting our mindsets, business can accelerate action to do better business that is good for business, for people, and for the planet. Let me repeat this once again. This is the decisive decade for addressing the climate crisis. Businesses, large and small, need to stand up now and take bold action to decarbonize the global economy with speed and scale. Thank you very much. Thank you, the South Summit, for this incredible event. Thank you all for listening, and especially thank you for the actions that you're going to make. Let's go all in for 2030. Are you in?